Welcome to episode 23 of Fascinating, a Star Trek podcast. A Taste of Armageddon.
In this week's episode, Kirk is faced with a dilemma when his entire crew are deemed to have been killed in a simulated attack from an alien world. Keen to avoid having to ask his officers to report for mandatory disintegration, the captain tries to engineer a solution that benefits all parties. But will his hosts welcome a seismic disruption to their way of life? Or has Kirk finally gone too far?
You stay here and prevent this young lady from immolating herself. Knock her down and sit on her if necessary. This is a killing situation. Do what you must to protect yourself. Clear?
How are things, Ian?
Well, not ideal, Gerry.
When was the last time you immolated yourself?
Only on a Thursday, usually.
Ever been sat on?
When I see the stats for the podcast. No, I've not been sat on deliberately anyway.
Not your thing?
Not usually. Did you enjoy the episode this week?
Loved this episode.
It's right back to, I thought, a bit like Dagger of the Mind, Conscience of the King, that sort of moral dilemma with a bit of threat thrown in.
Yeah. I do have a recurring issue, however.
You don't like Kirk's leadership?
Nope.
It's not that, or it is that?
It is that.
It is that.
Yeah. I think he acts like an invader again, a crusader.
You think he's more to blame than the ambassador in this scenario?
Equally to blame.
Okay. And what about the natives?
They're just doing their thing, aren't they?
Are they?
Yeah.
They're killing lots of people.
Yeah, but they all agree to it.
Yeah.
They accept
Do they though? Do the people agree to it? It seems to me that it's imposed by leadership.
Yeah, well, perhaps not, but it's not up to Kirk and the Enterprise to just burst in there and...
Yeah.
Anyway,
We'll get to that.
We will get to that. Anything you want to say?
No, let's just get into it.
Okay, crack on.
We start with a captain's log.
3192.1.
They're en route to a star cluster called NGC 321.
Didn't think hard of that,
There's
did
not
they?
a lot of effort being put into that at all.
Yeah. Why are they going there?
Well, apparently they're going to open diplomatic channels with this planet that has never previously communicated with the Federation.
Yeah, but a message has been sent to planet Eminiar, what is it?
Eminiar
VII, letting them know of their plan, and they await their response. We're up on the bridge. Who do we get introduced to?
Ambassador Fox.
Yeah, he enters and is told that they have not heard anything in response to this message.
No, indeed not. And when they finally do hear something, it's not what they want to hear.
It's a code, what is it?
710.
What's a 710?
It's a go away and leave us alone message.
Yeah.
So obviously the Eminiar people know international or intergalactic code well enough.
Clearly, yeah. Yeah, Kirk explains to Fox what this instruction is, but Fox immediately sets himself up as a bit of an arse by telling him to disregard it and dismissing Kirk's protests.
Mr. Fox, it is their planet.
Captain, in the past 20 years, thousands of lives have been lost on this quadrant. Lives that could have been saved if the Federation had a treaty port here. We mean to have that port, and I'm here to get it.
By disregarding Code 710, you might well involve us in an interplanetary war.
I'm quite prepared to take that risk.
You are. I'm thinking about this ship. My crew.
I have my orders, Captain, and now you have yours. You will proceed on course, achieve orbit status, and just leave the rest to me. You are well aware that my mission gives me the power of command. I now exercise it. You will proceed on course. That's a direct order.
In view of Code 710, Captain, may I suggest...
Mr. Sparks. This is the captain. Condition yellow alert. Phaser crews stand by. Deflector shields up. We're going in, gentlemen. Peacefully, I hope, but peacefully or not, we're going in.
Kirk doesn't really heed his own advice later in the episode.
Does he not?
No.
His will for peace, you mean?
Well, it tells it's up to them, basically. That it's their decision.
Yeah.
But then he makes their decisions for them.
Well, we'll get to that.
We will. Credits.
Yep, and then back on the bridge, and Spock is briefing Kirk on the history of Eminiar VII.
You forgot the captain's log, a second one.
Oh, of course I did. It's just because they're so boring.
3192.5, they are preparing to beam down with orders to establish diplomatic relations at all costs.
At all costs? How do you establish diplomatic relations at all costs?
If we have to kill you in order for us to establish a good relationship here, that's what we'll do.
He's talking about regime change, isn't he?
Yeah, so we're on the bridge. What did you say? Spock's
briefing Kirk on the recent history of Eminiar VII.
Yeah, apparently they are advanced people, but little is known about them, other than the fact that they have never travelled beyond their own solar system. 50
years ago, the last Earth vessel to pass this way vanished.
Yeah, I think it was the USS Valiant.
Apparently so.
And what else do we learn? They've been at war.
Yes, with their nearest neighbour. We don't get any more information on who the nearest neighbour is, but if they've not left their own solar system, I can only assume it's another planet circling the same star.
Yeah, very parochial by the sounds of it.
It's like us going to war with Mars.
Those Martian. Well, we've been building up to that, haven't we, for the last sort of 100 years.
Actually, if you listen to the later episode, it's like us colonising Mars and then the people we send to Mars going to war with us in the future.
So a little bit like America.
That sort of thing. Yeah. Or like the American War of Independence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fox enters and is unhappy that Kirk is not taking him down to the planet with him. But Kirk reminds him that his safety is his priority.
Yeah, well, I think what is actually happening here is Kirk doesn't like challenges to his authority on his own ship. So if there's a loophole where he can be in charge, he's going to take advantage of it.
Not just the challenge to his authority. I don't think Kirk likes Fox generally.
He doesn't like it likes anyone who tries to order him around in his own ship.
Quite right.
Well, you sided with the last ambassador.
Yeah, but it's quite right to not like it.
Okay. Spock's got an interesting report, though.
What was that?
So despite this warning not to approach, and despite the fact the Enterprise was scanned on arrival at Eminiar VII, there's been no further hostile action, or no hostile action at all, towards them since they went into orbit.
Yeah. Although I think they are aware of the Enterprise being there. Yeah,
they scanned them when they arrived, yeah.
Sure. Kirk then hands control of the ship to Scotty as the landing party prepare to exit. Scotty must be like, whoa, this is my chance to shine, love it. Don't get much of a...
That bit of casual racism from the writers.
What was that?
They have Scotty saying, have a bonny trip for a start. No one's ever said that.
That's not common.
Not how you would use bonny. It's a misuse of the word bonny.
Yeah.
You wouldn't use it in that context at all.
Bonny's generally pretty good looking. It's a...
Yeah, you could have a bonny person.
Bonny baby.
Yeah, maybe even a landscape or something, but you wouldn't have a bonny trip.
You might have a bonny Charles.
It's a visual thing. You don't have...
royalty.
A trip can't look good.
No.
So it makes no sense. It's the first of two outrageous misuses of Scottishisms in this episode.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So down on the planet, we see a very impressive shot of a large city with people walking about and monorails.
Yeah, you'd have liked the original version of this better, I think.
Why?
It was an oil-on-canvas painting of this landscape. It's quite popular generally.
I have been very impressed with these matte paintings, the backgrounds that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
I think you said maybe some of them are remastered.
Remastered, yeah. So the original effects, I think, were even more impressive for the time. They were able to have these sort of painted backdrops, but have people moving around as well.
I think it certainly helps because obviously when you can tell that most of the scenes are set in a studio, it gives it a more expansive feel.
Yeah, we saw it. I think the Where No Man Has Gone Before was the other big example of this.
Sure.
They're met by Mia.
Yes, Mia. Is it Mia 3?
Mia 3.
Inside a building. And she's got some sort of tricorder and is flanked by two ridiculous looking men in hats.
Yeah, and they know exactly where the landing party is going to arrive. So they've also got some fairly advanced technology of their own.
Sure. She reminds these goons to treat them correctly, but nothing more, so be civilised.
On materialisation, she tells Kirk that she's impressed. They arrived so close to the command centre.
Not sure why that would be impressive.
Well, they've correctly worked out where to come to meet the important people.
Oh, okay.
Just from orbit.
She's easily impressed.
It's one building on a planet.
Inside, she abruptly reminds him that he was told not to come.
Yeah, and despite the fact that Kirk can't perceive any danger, she advise her that it exists.
Yeah. She does, however, say that she is morally obliged to be hospitable, and that Iain VII and the High Council await them. So he's obviously the High Hegian.
Yes, big High Hegian.
And that's where we go, the council room.
They all look mad.
They do, yeah.
It's like Kirk's interrupted their 11s or something. The cookies and tea were about to come out, but...
Yeah, the place is quite busy and is flanked by guards. And Kirk again introduces himself and his crew.
They also all look like bureaucrats, don't they?
They do, yeah.
Not one of them looks like he's ever made a difficult decision in his life.
No, or went to a party, enjoyed himself.
Yeah. Anyhow, Iain, who is the most vivacious of them, and that's not saying much, welcomes Kirk and his party, but rules out immediately any form of ongoing diplomatic relations.
Yeah, can I say that at this point I'm sure in the subtitles on Netflix, Kirk actually says it. He says anon, and it comes up anon, because I had to double check I had to double check on IMDb, but...
I think that's just the pronunciation thing.
Is it?
I don't know. I've got Iain. Maya calls him Iain, and she's the one that lives there.
Yeah. Maybe Shatner couldn't remember what he was meant to be saying.
Just a Canadian accent.
Well, it could be that, yeah. This podcast is available on YouTube. We throw it up there, we don't get too many listeners on that.
5. Yeah.
But it's there if you need it. And you can put subtitles on, which is...
Does it do well with her?
No, it does okay, but obviously it does struggle with the accent occasionally. It's quite amusing.
Yeah, they don't invest enough to get the technology right for our accent.
No, they'd have to invest quite a lot.
Well, or start from that position.
AI would have to be severely progressed, I think.
11. Yeah, so although Kirk notes that they're concealing this war that they're supposedly fighting well, Iain says they are still at war, have been for many centuries, and there are 1 to 3 million casualties every year.
Yeah, I think this puzzles Spock.
He says there's no evidence of this.
No, he scanned the place as well, and it appears to be an advanced, peaceful environment.
And Iain not only disputes this, he also says that the Enterprise has been put at risk by entering orbit.
We also find out who they're at war with at this point as well.
Yes, Vendikar. Yeah,
the third planet in their system, which had been settled by...
Like I said at the top of the show, yes, it was originally a Eminiarian or Eminiar colony, and it's turned on them over time.
At this point, an alarm sounds as there is an attack from Vendikar, and we see a computer room opened.
We do. And Maya notes that despite, I think it was Kirk says they should find shelter, she says there's no safety in shelter here.
No, it's a frequent occurrence. No one seems particularly bothered by it.
Yeah, hiding won't help them.
No.
Spock notes, however, that there are no explosions to be heard.
Even although apparently they receive a direct hit on the city, and the tricorder records nothing.
Yes, Yeoman Tamula is holding it. She's got no report at all.
That'll be the only time we mention her, I think.
No, regards sitting on someone later.
Well, instructed to, if required.
Mia says that the enemy are using fusion bombs that materialise right above the targets.
Yeah, and at this point, Kirk communicates with the bridge, where Scotty also states that there is no sign of any attack from their systems or their scanners.
No, Kirk looks a bit puzzled at this stage.
Yeah.
Sar and Iain are then in conversation. Sar, is the sidekick of Iain.
Yeah.
And from their conversation, we assume that the Enterprise has been hit by a weapon.
Is that what we assume?
Yeah, well, he says they were warned, and then Sar says just as it happened 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Which is when the Valiant went missing.
Sure.
So they sent for a security team because they think they may be needed.
Yeah, and Iain gravely tells Kirk that it was a terribly destructive attack with huge casualties. But I now think agitated and annoyed because he isn't getting this. Kirk, he points out that there is no evidence of any attack and is unamused by this game that he thinks he must be playing.
Yeah.
But he responds with equal aggression, stating that it is no game, and orders a counterattack just as Spock has an epiphany.
He does. The war is being fought entirely by computer.
Computers don't kill 500,000 people.
Deaths have been registered. Of course, they have 24 hours to report.
To report?
To our disintegration machines. You must understand, Captain. We have been at war for 500 years.
Under ordinary conditions, no civilization could withstand that. But we have reached a solution.
Then the attack by Vendikar was theoretical.
Oh, no. Quite real. An attack is mathematically launched. I lost my wife in the last attack. Our civilization lives. The people die, but our culture goes on. You mean to tell me your people just walk into a disintegration machine when they're told to? We have a high consciousness of duty, Captain.
There is a certain scientific logic about it.
I'm glad you approve.
I do not approve. I understand.
Good. And you will recall, I warned you not to come here. You chose to ignore my warning. I'm sorry, but it's happened. What has happened? Once your ship was in orbit about our planet, it became a legitimate target. It has been classified destroyed by a tri-cobalt satellite explosion.
I think that's quite an important part of the episode that you heard there when Iain talks about his wife having been killed.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that he's just sort of a cold-blooded sort of single man intent on running this war and disintegrating people for fun. He's got a stake in this. He's felt this personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good time now to talk about this, the sort of, I suppose, the moral conundrum. What's your thoughts on it? Obviously, no one dying and having no war is the ideal situation. I think we can all agree on that. But if you have to have a war, if you have to fight, and there has to be casualties, I can see that this is definitely a preferable situation.
Well, I don't agree.
No?
Because I think if you're having a war that consumes no resources other than human resource or whatever alien species resources, then there's no reason to end it. What are they fighting for? They're not gaining any ground or land or dominance. They're not, it's destined to go on indefinitely because there's no way to win the war.
Yes, that
perpetual stalemate.
Yeah, I said, but if you had to have a war,
you're not better just have a short war where some people die and then they think, this is rubbish, let's stop. Or somebody wins.
Having no war is always preferable.
If you have to have a war that goes on forever, but that's a really niche proposal.
That's true.
I think that's the point that Kirk tries to make later on, is that without the horrors of war, you're not motivated to bring it to an end. Albeit this guy's disintegrated his wife.
It's a fair point, but what I would say is, if I was trying to argue on their behalf, is that if you have an all-out war, even a short one, even if it was for, say, a few months, you could effectively wipe out that civilization. You could blow both of them to kingdom come, to use a cliche, which they might never recover from. At least with this, you have a certain amount of control so that you know that both parties can. It is sustainable.
Yeah, that's true. But what if one side just didn't retaliate?
Yeah.
Would the other side keep on attacking?
Did we ever find out why they're at war?
No.
That's a bit of a flaw, isn't it, in the episode, I think? There needs to be
I would imagine it was originally to do with control of resources if they're within one solar system. And they were originally a colony. Maybe they felt they were being done out of something. Yeah. The Vendikar.
I mean, at the end, we find out there is a channel of communication that is there, but no. So I think they've just fell into this habit. Yeah,
because there's no real world consequences other than the human consequence.
Mm.
And they're
but the human consequence surely is the biggest consequence. At one point, when he loses his wife, at that point, doesn't he say, "Do you know what? Maybe I should pick up the phone."
Well, maybe that would have been a better twist to the story, to have it be them that instigated this rather than just have it forced upon them.
Yeah.
But that's not the story that they wrote.
No. Kirk is told that the crew on board the Enterprise now have 24 hours to report to the disintegration machines, and the landing party will be held hostage until they surrender. Now, this doesn't really understand how holding hostages work.
Well, that's assuming that he's going to tell the truth about why they have to beam down. He obviously worked with the previous vessel.
Okay. In any case, they are held at gunpoint. But more dramatically, Kirk is told bluntly that they will try and spare the ship, but that all on board are already dead.
That's how it works here.
Obviously.
There's the experiment in future Star Trek. I don't think so much in this series, but There's a good episode of Deep Space Nine where they're doing the same sort. It's not exactly the same idea, but instead of putting people in prison, they implant the memory of a prison spell in their minds. So they remember having spent 10 years in prison.
Yeah, well, that's like Total Recall, isn't it? We've discussed that before.
Yeah, I never watched that.
Okay, yeah, it's worth a watch.
It's stealing Star Trek ideas.
Well, I think, was it not written by Philip K. Dick? I'm not sure, I could be wrong on that.
See the electric sheep guy?
Yeah.
Is there electric sheep in it?
No.
Okay. Might watch it then. As long as it's not Harrison Ford.
No. We have a delayed captain's log. Is that the first time?
The first time he mentions it being delayed, but I think we've assumed in the past some of them must be.
Yeah. The landing party is not considered casualties, but don't know what is in store for them.
In a room where they're being presumably held. This reminded me a bit of Dagger of the Mind again. The room was quite similar to the one where Noel and Kirk were held.
Yeah. Kirk is in no mood to mess around when Mia enters, and he tells her Annan will have more casualties to deal with if he doesn't get her in here if he doesn't get him in here to talk just now. Yeah, he's full of it, isn't he? He's in a bad position. He's
unhappy. You can see it's quite emotional at this stage. But Mia is also emotional.
Yeah, she's got a bigger issue to concern herself with.
Yeah, she's dead.
She's due to be disintegrated at noon the next day. That certainly throws a spanner in the works.
It does a little bit. I don't think Kirk's willing to accept that now that the pretty girl's getting faced with...
Well, that's what I was going to say, yeah. That'd have been some other random red shirt.
Fine if it's men. Don't you start killing the pretty ones?
Yeah, he questions her on why she accepts this, and she has a logical answer.
Yes, the preservation of the civilization over the survival of the individuals.
But he doesn't accept this and thinks there must be a better way. And as she leaves, he again asks for an Anne 7 to speak with him.
He does. Up on the bridge of the Enterprise, we presume some time must have passed because Kirk's now able to get in touch.
Yeah, before he does, I think we see McCoy complaining to Scotty that something is wrong and they should do something about it. But
he always thinks something's wrong.
He does, but he's unable to come up with a solution. I think McCoy's, I think Scotty says, yeah, okay, there is. What should we do?
Yeah, typical McCoy.
Yeah.
Anyhow, yes, Kirk gets in touch to confirm that he has been able to establish full normal diplomatic relations.
All is well.
And Scotty thinks that the ambassador will be delighted.
Yes, and not only that, Kirk says that they all have to beam down for shore leave, and that trained Eminians will be sent up to look after the Enterprise. That must be a red flag straight away. That's
He's not
never
thought
happened.
that through, has he?
No, that would never be the case.
Yeah, I think we get a wee glance at the war room here as Scotty's scepticism spreads.
Yeah, he's obviously suspicious and confused, but they're told it's an order.
They are?
From who?
Yeah, it's not Kirk at all, is it?
Nope, it's Annan 7.
He's a really good impersonator, though.
Well, he's using a voice duplicator.
Acme voice duplication. Scotty confirms that they will comply with this, but once the channel is closed, he has the computer analyse what they just heard.
And what is the result of that?
It wasn't Kirk, it was an imitation. 98% probability.
They now know they're in trouble. So back down on the planet, in the holding room, Kirk and Spock have a plan that involves Spock using his telepathy. Now, have we seen this before? Is this?
We've seen him use powers directly to people, not through walls.
Yeah, he's to do it on the guard outside, and I think he forces him to enter.
Yeah, and then they knock him out.
At which point, Kirk is able to do a double karate chop. It's very 60s.
Yeah, very stylised.
And he gets their communicators and weapons. And
yeah, but they need more weapons. This isn't enough, and they should be prepared to kill people if necessary because it's a case of life and death. He's very agitated, Kirk. I think he has fundamental objections to what's going on.
So the two of them plus the three other in the landing party creep out and about and immediately come across one of the disintegration machines doing its thing.
And it's the one where Mia has reported for disintegration.
Yeah. In fairness, it looks quite painless. No one's screaming.
We don't see the inside. It could be soundproof.
I mean, it could be, but I've got the feeling it's not too bad. If you've got to go, worse ways.
Maybe. It's probably the queuing that's the problem.
Yeah, the night before. That's terrible, isn't it? You have to wait. It's like, come tomorrow at 12 o'clock. It's like, this is going to be a rough...
Put your affairs in order.
Yeah.
What am I going to do with my time? Yes, so Kirk stops Mia from being disintegrated because she's too pretty.
That's effectively why, yes. And instead, Spock disarms her guard with...
Well, he does it in a very strange way, doesn't he? Very un-Spock.
How?
He goes up to the guard and says, "Excuse me, sir, you have a multi-legged creature on your shoulder." And then Nerve pinches him.
Yeah.
He didn't need to say anything.
No. Before Kirk orders them to clear off and he shoots the machine. I don't like... He's
all shooting machines.
Whether or not you agree in principle with... We've discussed this before. With the Archons specifically.
Yep.
Whether or not you agree with what's going on or not, you can't just make the unilateral decisions. Like, even if you were going to make that decision, he's only had a few hours to think about it.
I suppose from his point of view, he's protecting his crew at this stage. They've been sentenced to death and he wants to prevent it from happening.
Yeah, that's a point.
We go to the council room.
We do. We are there told what has happened, and we hear that it is only machine 12 that has been decommissioned, so there are obviously at least 12 of them.
Well, you say that, maybe 12 replaced 11. It could have been a sequence of... I mean, it's the other 7 a Nans. He's a Nan 7.
Yeah.
So where's the first 6?
Decommissioned. Disintegrated.
Anyhow. Well, that would be another interesting thing, if the people of Eminiar are all clones. Yeah. So nobody really dies. They just kill them all off, but they get replaced by another version of themselves.
Yeah, maybe they're all just, robots. Kirk would love that.
He does like a sex robot.
Where's Christine?
Anyhow, yes, at this point, Anan orders that the Enterprise be destroyed due to non-compliance. We
get the first ever, I think, Scotty log.
We do.
3193.0. I think it's just an update.
Yeah, he's just playing his bagpipes and we hear him complaining about the captain being overdue and he's taking precautionary measures.
At this point, some random navigator. Where is that?
Sully's not the one we've had before that was Pike before.
Yeah, DePaul. Somebody
DePaul, and he used to be the same actor that played the disfigured Captain Pike.
Yeah, but anyway, where's Sully? He's not been around.
He's not in this episode, they can't afford him.
You can't afford him. Wasn't a star at this point.
He's expensive.
He's not expensive.
Him and Scotty cost a lot. They're only in every other episode.
It's one or the other.
Yeah, that's it. They can't have both. And if they have both, they can't have Uhura. Anyhow, there's a problem.
What's that?
Which doesn't appear in any previous or any future episode, that they can't fire their phasers while the shield screens are up. But the good news is that the attack didn't disrupt them too much.
Yeah, fortunately the screens did their job, and Scotty agrees with McCoy that they now know that they're not a friendly bunch down there, and is in discussion with him about what they can do to rescue the crew when Fox enters the bridge with orders of his own.
Of course, I could treat them to a few dozen photon torpedoes.
You would do no such thing, Mr. Scott.
Mr. Fox, we're under attack. They're trying to knock us down.
You have taken defensive measures.
Of course, but...
But there are no buts. Obviously, it's a misunderstanding, and one of my jobs is to clear up misunderstandings.
They're holding our captain.
We have no proof of that.
I'm responsible for the safety of this ship.
And I'm responsible for the success of this mission, and that's more important than this ship. Is that clear? We came here to establish diplomatic relations with these people.
But they're the ones who are looking for a fight, Mr. Fox.
This is a diplomatic matter. If you check your regulations, you'll find that my orders get priority. I'll try to make contact with the planetary officials. Lieutenant, open up a channel and keep it open. Tell them to expect a priority one message from me. There will be no punitive measures, gentlemen. Those are my orders.
Diplomats. The best diplomat I know is a fully activated phaser bank.
Scotty going all 80s action type of thing that you would hear Stallone or Arnie say, maybe even a Bruce Willis.
It's entirely possible.
It's a nonsense of a decision by Fox. I mean, this is bonkers. Here's an idea. What's he doing?
Peace at all costs.
Even
if it involves us all getting killed.
Back down in the holding room.
Yeah, they've broken back into the room where they were being held.
Yeah, because apparently it's the last place that they will look.
Yeah, the closer they are to danger, the further they are from harm.
Obviously, yeah. And he ignores pleading from Mia to let her go. She's
taking her hostage now.
Yeah.
She wants to be disintegrating.
Listen, I know what's best for you and your people.
Yes.
They take stock of what they have and find it consists of some male clothing, 4 disruptor units and a communicator which can't reach the Enterprise at this time.
2 tins of tuna.
Yes.
And a loaf of bread.
It's like the Blackadder episode where it's the escape kit.
Yes.
It's like a duck with a small wooden
corkscrew
toy. A passport? Nope. False moustache? Nope.
Yeah. If you want to hear about that, you can find the Blackadder podcast. I heard it's quite good.
Yeah, give it a listen.
I think that was one of the Christmas special, or the comic relief special that you're talking about.
No.
Is it not?
Nope.
Not the one where Stephen Fry's caught in the tower, stuck in the tower?
No. It's the Corporal Punishment, where he's about to be shot. It's a pigeon. Killing the pigeon.
That's right. When he's lawyer, he gets mixed up between the lawyer and the... Yeah, okay.
Sends a wash bag to the greatest legal mind in British history. Anyway. Well.
Yes, Kirk assures Mia that he wants to end all of the killing, but she's not convinced and doesn't really want to help him.
No, and not really understanding that he's no bargaining position. He demands a complete layout of the place from Mia and how to get to the war room. How can he? Like, she's saying, let me go, I want to go and die. Like, no, you will do what I tell you.
Or I'll kill you.
Or something.
Over in the council room, Iain is concerned they're short on options.
Yeah, he's got a problem. They have failed to destroy the Enterprise, have lost a chamber, and have not met with the required sacrifices in terms of the death quota.
Yes, what they need now is a useful idiot.
And at this point, a communication comes through from Earth Ambassador Fox.
Yeah, and Iain ponders whether deception might be the order of the day.
Yeah, effectively, he wonders whether he should be honest or tell a lie that will save their lives. I think it's a fairly obvious choice there.
Yeah.
Be honest.
Well, save their lives is maybe an exaggeration. Resolve the situation.
Up on the bridge, Fox speaks with Iain and asks why they are being attacked and holding the landing party against their will.
And Iain clarifies this for him. It was a mistake. They thought from their sensors that the Enterprise was going to attack them, and they responded in kind, but it was just a misunderstanding.
Fox is a gullible fool, isn't he? Believing this garbage.
What's happening is Iain is telling him exactly what he wants to hear, so he's got no reason not to believe it.
And he has to save face in front of Scotty and McCoy, who
don't believe in diplomacy.
And they've told him that he's making a mistake. In any case, Fox seems pleased with himself and looks at Scotty as he claims he knew it would have to be a mistake. Yeah, of course, that's the obvious.
The only possible solution. And he's further delighted when Iain confirms that the Eminiar people wish to establish full formal relations and to receive Ambassador Fox on the planet.
Yes. That's slightly worrying, however.
Having said that, though, Iain presses mute on the call and tells Sar to destroy the Enterprise as soon as the shields are down, and then unpresses mute. And you want to see when it's almost in a comedy, the mute wouldn't have worked.
Yes. I heard that.
I'm still on.
So, yeah, at the same time, I think the Paul, the navigator, informs Scotty that the attack has ended, but the cautious temporary captain tells him to keep the shields up for the moment.
He does. And Iain goes back to Fox and apologises for the misunderstanding and confirms to him that Kirk will be there to meet him when he arrives on the planet.
Yeah, they end the communications with pleasantries, and Fox then triumphantly notes that diplomacy should be left to diplomats and orders Scotty to lower the defences.
He's almost mocking Scotty and McCoy here.
Yeah.
Like, I told you. I'm smarter than you. Mm-hmm. Listen to me. And
we have a minor mutiny at this point.
Well, we do, because Scotty won't put the screens down, and despite Fox's outrage and his threats of a penal colony, Scotty refuses and says that there's no way he's taking the screens down until he has an order from the captain.
Yeah, and he gets the support and backing of McCoy at this point as well. However, with Fox gone off in the huff,
McCoy flips.
Yeah, he tells Scotty that he's done it now. So
Scotty comes out with some more garbage about haggis.
Yeah, he what is it? He says he accepts that the haggis is now in the fire. You don't cook a haggis by putting it in the fire for a start.
Doesn't make any sense.
No.
That's torture. You wouldn't do that to a haggis.
No.
You would kill it humanely.
Yes.
And then you would cook it in the oven.
Of course.
Or the microwave.
Yep. These days, yeah. But
yeah.
it's just almost like, what's that Scottish thing that you can say?
Yeah, say a Scottish word. Oh, he said haggis. Just racism, that's what it is. Down in Anand's room, he is unsurprised when Kirk breaks in and sneaks up on him.
Yeah, what's he doing?
Who knows?
He's pouring himself a trova. What's a trova?
I don't know. I presume it's like Tranya.
Is it Tranya? Is that what it is?
No, I mean, he doesn't say Tranya, but I wonder if it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, having a drink anyway.
Something alcoholic. Mm-hmm. He tells Kirk that he's trying to... he tells Kirk that he's a barbarian. Mm-hmm. And that, unlike Kirk, he's not just trying to save one ship, he's trying to save an entire world.
Yeah. And in fairness, he accepts that he also is a barbarian. He admits that to their joint heritage.
Yeah, and when Kirk turns his back, you see Iain hit a couple of concealed buttons on his desk.
Kirk keeps up his aggressive approach by telling Iain that he doesn't mess about with computer games.
Yeah, he gets into full hyperbole here, doesn't he?
Yeah, he deals with the real thing and could destroy the planet.
With his bare hands.
Yeah, no he couldn't. He's talking about destroy the planet.
Beat a Gorn.
Exactly. How would you destroy the entire planet? Does he mean by giving the order to the Enterprise?
Well, what he's found... No, he says without weapons or anything.
Alright. He was just about smashing things up with it.
What Iain hasn't seen is that above the planet there's a big rock.
He's going to, yeah. And he's trying to get him, position him. Yeah, just take a step to the left.
That's it. He's going to crush the whole planet.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Iain is sceptical that Kirk can achieve that with his one gun. Yeah. Asks whether if Kirk were told where the communicators were, he would just wander off and get them.
And how does he respond? I think he says, yeah, maybe.
He says something like that.
Yeah.
And so Iain does tell him where they are, and Kirk heads out the room. But not to be fooled. He insists on Iain going ahead and uses him as a brick, really?
Yeah.
To take out one of the guards.
Yeah, he sort of uses him like bait, a distraction.
Yeah, he sends him off in one direction, taking a guard with him, and gets into a fight with what turns out to be two guards.
Yeah, and is, I think, quite satisfyingly actually knocked unconscious and dragged away.
Yes, he didn't destroy the planet with his one gun at all.
No, he was, within 10 seconds of threatening that, how he was the big man, he's unconscious and been dragged away.
And Iain feels quite bad for him, saying that it probably would have been better for him to die fighting. That's how he would have liked it.
How does he know that?
He just thinks everyone wants to die.
Fox beams down with some wee dude and that we've not seen before, and is greeted by Iain himself. However, once inside, he gets right down to business and tells Fox that
he's dead.
Yeah, he's a casualty and he'll have to die too. He's just obsessed with people dying here.
Yeah, Fox is flabbergasted.
Yeah. At this point he realises that, I might have been wrong. Might have called this one wrong.
Yeah.
In the holding room, with two guards watching on.
The guards who have changed into bizarre outfits. Yeah, these are the red shirts. They've taken the clothes that Spock got.
That's what it is, yes.
And they've put on these Eminiar.
Yeah, it just dawned on me there because I'd assumed that
they were Eminiar people.
Spock had used his telepathy to reprogram.
No, this is the red shirts dressing in the costumes that they've gathered.
Sure. Spock finally manages
They're eating tuna as well.
Yeah, to get the communicators working and speaks with Scotty up on the bridge. And he tells him that no one should beam down.
Scotty's quite pleased to report that Fox has just headed to the planet's surface.
Don't let anyone beam down, it's certain death.
What does he call him? A Popinjay or a Popinjay? Or
a Popinjay, yeah.
Yeah. That's not a Scottish term, we can let that one go.
Yeah, I'm sure. So
Spock sends them out to the edge of phaser range and to stand by there, and he's going to find the ambassador and Kirk.
Yes, I think this is when he leaves, he tells the yeoman to sit on.
Don't let Mia kill herself and use deadly force if necessary.
The yeoman didn't look as if she'd be the type of person who could handle that, to be fair.
No, I know. What's the point of killing someone to stop them killing themselves?
Yeah.
The whole thing's stupid. Spock has not thought this through.
No. In the corridor, Fox tries the old, do you know who I am? line. They don't know as he's being manhandled to the disintegration chamber. When fortunately Spock turns up with his goons and manages to free him.
He does, and then, following in Kirk's footsteps, Spock blows up the disintegration chamber, and Fox is able to tell him exactly where Kirk has been taken.
And accept that he is wrong. Didn't have much of a choice, to be fair.
No, because Spock would just have shot him.
Yeah, quite rightly. Back in the council room, Iain is with Kirk and is trying to make him understand the predicament he and his civilization are in due to Kirk's ill-thought-out interference.
Surely you can see the position we are in. If your people do not report to our disintegration chambers, it is a violation of an agreement that dates back 500 years.
My people are not responsible for your agreements.
You will be responsible for an escalation that will destroy everything. Millions of people horribly killed. Complete destruction of our culture here, yes, and the culture on Vendikar. Disaster, disease, starvation. Horrible, lingering death. Pain and anguish.
That seems to frighten you.
It would frighten any sane man.
Yes, you're quite right.
Don't you understand, Captain? We have done away with all that. Now you are threatening to bring it down on us again. Are those 500 people of yours more important than the hundreds of millions of innocent people on Eminiar and Vendikar? What kind of monster are you?
I'm a barbarian. You said it yourself.
I had hoped I had spoken only figuratively.
Oh, no, you were quite accurate. I plan to prove it to you.
Open a channel to the Enterprise.
That was a mistake,
Why?
opening the channel, because Kirk takes immediate advantage, shouting orders to Scotty.
Yeah, General Order 24. But it seems like a futile gesture as Iain introduces himself and tells them that unless they all beam down within 30 minutes, the hostages that he has will be killed.
After he's off the phone, Iain is told by Kirk what General Order 24 means.
What is it?
The planet will be destroyed in 2 hours. I don't know if this is a bluff. Do they really have a general order that requires the destruction of a planet?
What I thought was at the end of the episode we're going to find out that
There is no... Yeah.
General 24 is like, just you hover.
Yes.
Or go for a trip round and come back.
Yeah, but no.
No.
Anyhow, yes, Kirk said he didn't start this, but he's definitely going to finish it.
So, an angry Iain orders an immediate attack on the ship, but is told that it has moved out of range.
Yes, and meanwhile we see Spock and the gang coming down the corridors, and Fox's aide gets hurt, so they just leave him behind.
Yeah, well,
He didn't even have any speaking lines, so it's not really important.
So we're back in the council room, where a worried messenger enters and tells Iain that the time is nearly up and that Vendikar is due to attack because...
It's not a messenger, that's Star.
Is it?
Yeah, he came back.
Yeah.
He's the aide of Iain.
Right.
Anyhow, yes, Vendikar are displeased with the delay.
It's almost like Vendikar are the whole sort of boss in the relationship. They're displeased with us. So, yeah. We're at war, don't care if they're displeased.
Yeah, our intention is to displease them.
These Nazis are awful grumpy with us. Oh no.
Things are getting a bit chaotic again for Iain. You can see him, this is the second time in the episode, he starts to get a bit flustered when things don't quite go according to plan.
Yeah, is this the point where he starts asking for help and shouting out about what he should do? Or was that earlier?
I don't know. I remember him doing it.
Yeah.
That might have been earlier. But anyhow, he gets Scotty on comms at this point, threatening him further.
Why? What does he say?
He says that all the key installations on the planet have been targeted for destruction unless the hostages are immediately returned.
And this, you can see that Ahura, who's sitting beside Scotty, is shocked by this.
Yeah, this is unbecoming behaviour.
Yeah, she's thinking, are you sure? Really? Is this what we're going to do?
Yeah, is this a bluff or do they mean it?
So back in the council room, Iain seems... now this is the point, he seems a beaten man when he cries out for guidance.
Yes.
Which allows Kirk to do a ridiculous circular attack and takes out about 5 guards and grabs one of their weapons.
He does, and he shepherds everyone up against the wall just as Spock arrives to say, God, I could help.
Oh, Kirk must have loved this. Just as he takes over, it's, everything's under control.
You can go back.
You can go back, yeah, I've got it. Got this.
Spock is sent into the war room to scout things out, and Scotty is told by Kirk to maintain position. They're leaving in 10 minutes, but if that doesn't happen for whatever reason, he should carry out General Order 24.
Yeah, before he goes off on a monologue explaining to Iain that war is a horrible business, but that they've sanitised it so much that they no longer fear it and avoid it like they should. But, yeah, I do have it. I mean, he's losing his family, Iain. So he does, I suppose, fear it, and he knows what the consequences are. He's felt the consequences.
Yeah, so that's a counter-argument that he should have made.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't.
No.
Kirk, at this point, has Fox take all the spare people out of the room because it's cheaper that way.
Yes.
And then goes through to the war room with Sar and one of the red shirts to recover their weapons and communicators.
Yeah, at which point Spock has worked out the whole computer setup and explains to Kirk that there are effectively, I think there's one central unit, and if they shut that down, it will take out the entire structure, including the Vendicar.
Yeah, he's worked out the entire arrangement with Vendicar.
Yeah, within about 3.
I think it must. What you probably find is it was written on a card stuck to the top of the computer. It says, "Do not move. Do not pile anything on top of this."
And so, based on this information, Kirk gets out the old phaser or the weapon again and shoots it.
Much to Sar's distress.
Yeah. And they all run out into the corridor as it starts to explode and smoke and take cover.
And Anne is distraught, but Kirk gives him some more moralising and thinks that neither they nor the Vendicans will have the stomach to fight a real war after so long without real weapons being fired.
I think Anne says, "Do you realise what you've done?" And he says, "Yeah, I've given you war back."
Yes.
Okay.
And then he puts on his leather jacket, rides his motorbike out of the station.
Lights up a cigar off in the distance with his sunglasses on to the sound of power rock from the 80s.
Yeah. That's him. He's off. Although Anand thinks that peace is not possible, they have the benefit of Fox being their master negotiator that he is to step in. And Kirk's only too happy to leave him behind.
He is. Fox isn't a master negotiator, is he?
No, he's a moron.
Yeah.
But what's quite good is that the other two can blame him for any miscommunications.
Yeah, that's true.
Spock is hopeful. Kirk calls off General Order 24 and they're ready to leave.
Yeah, so up on the bridge, a course is set for... Oh, did we find out what happened to Mia?
Nope. Well, I presume she didn't die though.
But she was a fairly prominent character. You'd have thought that she'd have some sort of resolution or send-off.
Nope.
Nah. A little kiss.
Nope. The yeoman's still sitting on her.
Can I go up now?
She's turned her into a chair. She's stitched her together.
And again, if all the type of people who you want to use as a weight, the yeoman who's a wee tiny thing.
The 5-stone yeoman, yeah.
Anyway, up on the bridge, a course is set for Argana 2 as Ahura receives a message from Fox down on the planet who reports that negotiations are underway and things are looking up.
Spock rightly points out that Kirk took a massive gamble and was just lucky.
Well, he accepts that he took a calculated risk, but insists that even if an attack did take place, it wouldn't have killed any more than the 3 million that they had been losing per year up until this point. But like I said earlier,
it's a decision to make.
It's not his decision, and that's a more controlled. That sort of 3 million, you build it into your whole civilization. We lose 3 million. We need to produce 3 million. We know how it's going to work. You're disrupting the ecosystem. It's all very. It's like going into a jungle somewhere and saying, "Do you know what? Those big tigers and lions, they're killing everything. They're destroying it. Let's just take them out." Oh, yeah. Really? Okay, let's see how that affects things.
It would be interesting to come back in a future episode, like 50 years later, and see it's completely overpopulated.
Yeah.
And there's lots of poverty and starvation.
Sure. As I said, it's not like necessarily I disagree with the decision, but he hasn't analysed it and studied it and looked at all the consequences before making that decision.
No, he just used his instincts and
just went, that's
imposed
terrible.
it on them. Yeah.
And it could well be that you end up, as you say, down the line, in the short term or in the longer term, in a worse position.
Yeah. Anyhow, as I said, Spock says that Kirk's just lucky, and then Kirk comes back with a bizarre and meaningless line about Spock making him believe in miracles.
Yeah, I don't know what that meant.
You couldn't let Spock have the last word. You had to say something.
Yeah, and he raises his eyebrow. You must be thinking that.
Like, you always have the last word.
Doesn't make eyebrow. What? Try to work out freeze frame, but Naked Gun style. It's like freeze frame, and it's like, oh, why?
And his moving, stretching.
Yeah.
And that's the end. They're off on another adventure.
They are. I really liked this episode. I like the moral dilemma.
Yeah,
it's worth considering, and I liked the the setting.
I mean, I think it was originally written with Vietnam in mind, because obviously this was during the Vietnam War.
Sure.
That these things are written, and the allegory for meaningless deaths, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't really get that same idea. It wasn't that they were fighting for nothing. They never addressed what they were fighting for.
No.
But anyway.
I think that I said it earlier, I think that's a weakness. I think there has to be something at stake.
Yeah.
For it. Although, unless that's the whole point, it's like war is meaningless.
Yeah.
You know?
Nothing can be achieved.
Mm.
I don't know. And another crewman just left behind with whatever alien race they were dealing with that week. I think it's the third or fourth time.
Sure. It was also interesting that the antagonist wasn't necessarily a bad guy.
No, he was just doing what he was expected to do.
Yeah, so we didn't really have any enemy.
Well,
as
Fox.
such. Yeah, Fox, yeah. Idiot.
100%.
And Mia, she was very pleasant.
Yeah. Talking of Fox, I heard he wasn't the easiest actor to get along with either.
No, I'd heard that, there's a little bit of trivia that I've got here, that he was a complete shambles in this episode on the set, that he couldn't remember his lines and had to do some off-camera reading and things like that. I think it was James Doohan in his biography. He mentioned
Told the story.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. On the other hand, he might have had some nerves on a Star Trek set, but I believe he was a bit of a ladies' man.
Oh yes, well we'll get to that.
Will we?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell us about them.
Oh well. But first, the show originally aired on the 23rd of February 1967 and was directed by Joseph Pevney, the third of his 14 episodes. We've talked about him before. You can get his details if you go back and listen to the Arena episode. Story was written by Robert Hamner, his only Star Trek episode, but he also wrote episodes of shows like MacGyver and Murder, She Wrote, and he's probably best known for creating the original SWAT series. And he died in 1996 at the age of 67. David Opatoshu played Anan. This was his only Star Trek role, but he had been considered for the role of the Doctor in The Cage, that we saw bits of in the Menagerie. He also appeared in shows like SWAT, Kojak and the $6 Million Man, and also died in 1996. He was 78, which means that this episode he was about 48. Does that ring true to you?
No. 68, and if you look at the bags under his eyes, it's not a good look.
Well, wait till you find out how old the ambassador was.
Oh, that's what I was talking about. Sorry.
No, this was Anan.
Oh, Anan, sorry, yes.
The ambassador was even younger. He's what
Yeah, sorry, that's what I was sorry. Yeah. Wasn't about my age, away you go.
Gene Lyons played Ambassador Fox. This was his only Star Trek appearance. He also appeared in a lot of other shows like Bonanza, Gunsmoke, and had a 7-year run in Ironside that lasted through to his death in 1974 when he was 53.
Yes.
So he was only 44 in this episode.
Crazy. I mean, a good few years older than myself, but he looked like an old man.
Yeah, well, he died from complications related to chronic alcoholism.
Yeah.
He's our Columbo connection of the week. He was a previous beau of Lee Grant.
From Ransom for a Dead Man, one of the pilots.
One of my favourite episodes.
It's a good one, yeah.
Although he did leave her in 1951 for Grace Kelly. So
it's not a bad...
I mean, he might have died at 53, but I think he'd hit the peak.
Yes. I've got nothing else to... Yeah. Achieved it all.
No more to do.
Yeah. Fair play to him.
Barbara Babcock was the Mia, and this was the second of her 6 Star Treks, and I think we talked about her back in The Square of Gothos when she voiced Trelane's mother.
I recognise her. I'm sure I've seen her on different things over the years.
Well, she'll show up.
Was she in Murder, She Wrote?
Probably, yeah. She'll show up 4 more times in Star Trek. Right. Bit of trivia. One of the movies has a starship named the USS Robert Fox after the Ambassador, but it was cut, so you never see it. This is the first episode to mention the full title, The United Federation of Planets. The only episode where raising the shields causes the phasers not to work. And in terms of international titles, the Germans, they go with Krieg der Computer, War of Computers.
Quite like it. Descriptive, but not necessarily very fun. But
on the same theme, our Japanese friends go for Computer Sensu, Computer War.
Yeah.
And the Italians go with Una guerra incredibile, an incredible war.
Not so much.
Yeah. Next week, 24th episode of Season 1, This Side of Paradise.
Interesting.
And until then, you can get hold of us on social media. We're at Trek Podcast on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram. We're happy to hear from you, discuss the episode with you. But if you want to leave your thoughts on the episode over on StarTrekPodcast.com, there's always a post up for each episode where you can do that, and we would love to chat to you about your reminiscences and your opinions on each episode.
Is that us?
That's us. We'll speak to folk in about 7 days' time.
Until then,
bye bye.
cheerio.